Here comes White, and his pass broken up. Haliburton ahead of the field. Neesmith drops the hammer.
The Indiana Pacers have been blowing everyone's expectations about them out the water, and the only reason why this is the case is because of Tyrese Haliburton. Tyrese Haliburton, a very young star in the NBA, coming from the Sacramento Kings, is revolutionizing the way we see basketball, at least on offense. Right now, the Indiana Pacers have the #1 offensive rating, and that is by no mistake. They are 13th in assists per game, but they are also #1 in assist-to-turnover ratio. And this would not be the case without Tyrese Haliburton. One of the great things about Tyrese is that, well, one, he doesn't really turn over the ball. He has high assist numbers, really similar to Jokic in the way that he gets his teammates involved. Yes, he might do a look pass, but say it's a no-look pass. But in general, he always gets his teammates involved, averaging around 10 assists per game. This guy is a machine. But usually when you average around a lot of these assists, typically we see this with Chris Paul, where he is, one of the best point guards in the NBA that we've ever seen. But he also has the most turnovers. But Tyrese Haliburton is just simply not turning over the ball. Now, this could be just something that we revert back to the means, but right now, as we see, it's a good sample of 20 games, that he's that guy. He really is that guy. And he's getting his teammates involved. They have shooters everywhere. They have Neesmith coming off of the bench, and they have Miles Turner, who I wish was on a different team because the Indiana Pacers historically has not been that great, and he had the opportunity to go somewhere else. But that's the Chicago Bulls in me. But the Indiana Pacers are a very young team, and because they're young, not many people really expected much from them, and that's okay. And that's simply because, like I said before, they just wasn't a good team. They really never was. They had Miles Turner on the team for a long time. They're just one of those stops that you have on the road, and you pretty much just mollywop them every time you see them. They might get a win here and there, but slowly but surely they've been building up their team with getting Buddy Hield on the team, keeping Miles Turner, and then the final piece of the puzzle right now, it seems like it's going to be Tyrese Haliburton. And Haliburton is just simply one of those players that you really need on the team. He's one of those pure point guard players, but has the range, the lethal range of a Steph Curry. Probably not the consistency of a Steph Curry, but the range nevertheless. He can shoot that from anywhere on the court, and high percentage as well. And with the recent win that they had over the Milwaukee Bucks, where he was just torching them. I mean, I don't even think he had a turnover in that game. He outplayed Damian Lillard in the clutch, and Damian Lillard, who's been on a tear in the in-season tournament, who's been probably the most clutch player in the in-season tournament so far, just could not perform. And partly is due because of the pace in which the Pacers are playing. I mean, when you look at them, as soon as you get a missed shot, they are already down the court. They are using their youth to their advantage. And you see the person who is pioneering this is all from Tyrese Haliburton. He is just pushing the pace. And you might even say, well, what about made baskets? He's pushing the pace on made baskets as well. As soon as the basket goes in, right, everybody is on alert that, hey, we need to get back down the court because we might have an advantage somewhere. And this is where it really breaks down for a lot of the opponents, where Tyrese Haliburton is just getting back on offense and literally pushing the pace, where you might have 2 or 3 defenders back, but because all the rest of the team is already running back, you might have 4 players running back on every fast break. There's not really much you can do. And this is sort of a trend that we're seeing in the NBA. We're seeing the 76ers kind of do this now with Nick Nurse as the coach and how he's enabling a lot of ball movement. But you're also seeing this in the Sacramento Kings, and this probably was really accentuated by the Sacramento Kings last year, where we saw the 2 head honchos of offense, the Golden State Warriors versus the Sacramento Kings, go at it, and it just seems like, a lot of people look at the end of the scoreboard and say that there's no defense being played. But when you actually watch the game, I mean, these are insane baskets. These are insane buckets that these people are getting. And this is really, really good offense. It's really hard to stop a player in the NBA, and I think more people need to really understand that. But I think in the league, we're seeing more and more so that pace is being pushed up far and far and far above than what we have historically known it. And I think the Indiana Pacers are taking Haliburton's skill of just simply being one of the pass first guards, but also being a lethal shooter and knowing how to weave in and out of a pick and roll to their advantage. You know, they still have Buddy Hield, who has historically been really one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. And then you partner that up with Miles Turner. I mean, you're just having a recipe for success. And right now, it's successful, right? It's more successful than we thought. They're still ranked 6th in the East, but, you know, that's more than what we really thought. And right now, the East is kind of competitive right now. You know, you have the Boston Celtics, you have the 76ers, you have the Bucks, you have the Knicks. You know, of course, as time goes on, we're going to see who's actually going to stay up there. But for right now, you know, the Pacers are in the mix. And to be honest, we did not expect them to be in the mix at all. We expect them to probably be the 8th seed at best. But right now, they're at the 6th seed. And honestly, if they keep playing the way that they do, with Haliburton, you know, leading them, they might make it to at least 4th. That's the best that I can see them making it in terms of the season, the rankings. But there's one glaring issue for this team, and we've all seen it, and it's the defense. You know, because it's a young team, and listen, we can look at all the assists, the no-look assists, and all that stuff, and the breakdowns on defense, leading into, you know, monster dunks. But at the end of the day, they typically have a lot of defensive breakdowns. You know, I mentioned before that they are number 1 in offensive rating, but they're also ranked 28th in defense, and that is no mistake. They're a young team. They make mistakes. It happens all the time. But this is one of the things where you have to, asking your coach that, okay, cool, we need to really hunker down on this, because being ranked 28th on defense, and I understand that really prolific at scoring, that typically you're going to have more times being on defense than you typically normally would do. But at the end of the day, you still have to be able to get stops. And being 28th is just not good enough. You know, we see championship caliber teams who have the, you know, number 1 rated offense, but also had a really high rated defense. Right now, I'd see that in the Boston Celtics, where their offense is, you know, pretty high, and their defense is pretty high as well. And so for the Pacers, that's where they really need to improve, because, you know, without that, listen, you can score, you can have such a great offense with Haliburton leading them, but at the end of the day, if you can't get a stop worth nothing, it doesn't matter. But I say that all to say that this Pacers team is really exciting to watch. And listen, I've had a few comments talking about how, you know, I am overblowing this in-season tournament, but I really do want you guys to think back and look back at how, you know, the regular season kind of fared out. Like, we had a few good games here and there. And listen, you might say that, well, these players should be incentive to play all out every you know, game of the season. But that's just simply not something that's realistic, okay? But look back into other seasons, we have not had this much excitement in a while. You know, when we're just talking about regular games, like if you were to think about this, would have just been a regular Tuesday, regular Thursday, regular Friday, right? And it would have been that special. But right now, we're having people, you know, dive for loose balls, really putting it out there. And I just think that, you know, with what we're seeing right now in the Indiana Pacers, it's just pure fun basketball. You know, they're just bringing basketball back into the forefront of just having it be a fun sport. We're seeing all these no-look passes into Miles Turner getting a dunk. We're seeing people who, you know, just made a basket, and you see 3 or 4 on a fast break. And, you know, it's just simply fun basketball to watch. You know, we like seeing the showmanship. We like seeing the flashy dunks. We like seeing defensive breakdowns. And so the Indiana Pacers are just really that team right now. But, you know, it's only that team because of Haliburton. You know, it really is. And one of the things that a lot of people have been, you know, theorizing and talking about in NBA circles is that, you know, was it wrong to trade Haliburton away from the Sacramento Kings? And I think if you don't know by now, then I don't know if you'll ever know, because it was a huge mistake. It was one of the biggest mistakes that the Sacramento Kings could have made. Because just think about it. You know, you have the Coach Brown, and you have, you know, De'Aaron Fox, and you have Malik Monk, and you have Domantas Sabonis, who was a result from that trade. But you have these pieces on the team, and they are playing in the exact way where Haliburton would thrive. And as Haliburton is thriving now in the Indiana Pacers, he would thrive even more, being the 1-2 punch for the Sacramento Kings. Listen, the Sacramento Kings, just like the Indiana Pacers, has been a very poverty-stricken franchise, more so with the Sacramento Kings. But at the end of the day, as they went into a different direction, as they tried to become a better team and got a really good coach, got some pretty good pieces, that is one of the times where you say, okay, cool, I have some young guns on the team. I have to stick with them. And trading away Haliburton just doesn't make sense in that regard, because Haliburton has been that person that has stuck by you guys for a long time, even during multiple losing seasons. And as he honed his game, this is one of the times where you say, okay, cool, this guy's actually making some pretty good adjustments to his game. He's actually, doing the part that he needs to do to be a better player, but they just didn't see the vision. And I think that ultimately the Sacramento Kings are going to suffer in that, as you see that Haliburton is just going off. But I think for the Sacramento Kings, it's just, you could have a way better offense with Haliburton. And listen, he might suffer on defense, but that's when you get other pieces to kind of subside that. But right now, I want to put more of the emphasis on the fact that Haliburton is playing out of his mind. Absolutely out of his mind. And the Indiana Pacers, who are going on into the finals of the in-season tournament, are, in my opinion, one of the favorites to win it. But the Lakers are a different team. We're going to see what they're going to do. But right now, Haliburton is that guy, and I think you guys should keep monitoring his success.